I love you. I've said it in every interview. And if that's not good enough with you, mama, then it's something deep-rooted in you. That's your insecurity bothering you. It's not Nicki Minaj. It would have been any girl that started popping. She picked a fight with Foxy. Then she picked a fight with Eve. Then she picked a fight with Remy. Then it was Miss Wallace. Then it was Nicki Minaj. Every time you in the news, it's because you getting at somebody. Where's your music? Put your music out, and when I see your name on Billboard, that's when I'll respond to you.
For over a decade, Nicki Minaj was the undisputed queen of rap. She ran the charts, shifted the culture, and brought female rap back to the front lines. But somewhere between her throne and her Twitter fingers, Nicki went from dominating the industry to being consumed by it. What we're watching now ain't a comeback or a downfall, it's a full-blown unraveling. And it's wild to see, especially from someone who once silenced legends with just a single verse. Let's rewind real quick. Nicki first stormed the game by bodying Lil' Kim, straight up. Kim came at her for jacking her image, her style, the whole Barbie aesthetic. And Nicki ain't duck it. She hit back with bars, confidence, and strategy. She won that war not just lyrically, but culturally. Kim faded, and Nicki became the blueprint for every female rapper that followed. But now Nicki's looking like the very thing she fought against. She's beefing with every new girl in the game. Megan, Cardi, Lotto, Doja, Ice Spice. Anybody who shines gets smoke from Nicki. But what used to be strategic shots has now turned into messy, bitter rants. And fans are starting to see it. It got even messier when Nicki turned on Megan Thee Stallion, especially after Meg joined Roc Nation. That's when the real shift started. Nicki began going in at Jay-Z, Desiree Perez, even Kendrick Lamar. All because her man, Lil Wayne, got passed over for the Super Bowl in favor of Kendrick. That one move made Nicki feel like the industry was turning its back on her. She wasn't subtle about it either. She jumped on Queen Radio and social media, throwing subliminals and low-key threats. But it ain't hit the same no more. The people watching were like, why you so pressed? Especially when Meg never even clapped back. She stayed quiet. Let the internet talk. Nicki couldn't let it go. She started pushing narratives that Jay-Z owed her money, like big money. Rumors started flying that Nicki believed Hov owed her between $100 to $200 million from her supposed early investment in Tidal and other backroom deals. Sounded wild at first, but then you start looking at the moves. Nicki reportedly had to sell her piece of Tidal to clear up some wage. Folks close to her say she's been trying to buy back her masters, make power plays behind the scenes. But the issue, the money wasn't adding up. Allegedly, she had to take loans to handle some of it. And that's when the Hov rumors kicked in heavy. She started implying Jay did her dirty, kept her in the dark on business deals. That's when things got personal. Nicki took it straight to Desiree Perez, the Roc Nation CEO who's had her own past tied to federal cooperation. Nicki started painting Perez as the villain, saying she's running the industry, silencing voices, controlling narratives. She posted cryptic tweets about rats in high places, and fans quickly linked the dots. But let's keep it real. This ain't about business anymore. It's about ego. Nicki's always been a control freak when it came to her image. And now that she can't control the narrative the way she used to, she's lashing out at everyone who still can. And while she's swinging, her own skeletons are crawling out. One of the biggest stains on her image has been her husband, Kenneth Petty. Let's not play dumb. His history is public. He's a registered offender with a conviction from the 90s. Nicki tried to clean it up, even claimed the woman was lying, trying to destroy their marriage. But the alleged victim spoke out. She did interviews. She filed lawsuits. And Nicki? She's been accused of using threats, hush money, and intimidation to make it all go away. It didn't help when the court filings hit the internet. The alleged victim said Nicki's team tried to fly her out, pay her off, make her recant her story, even tried to bribe her family. That lawsuit's still hovering. And it's messy, because now Nicki's looking like someone who uses her power not to uplift, but to cover up. Then there's her brother, convicted for doing unspeakable things to a child. Nicki once posted bail for him, stood by him, called it family business. But when fans brought it up, she got defensive, never really addressed the victim, never showed accountability. That made a lot of people pause, especially women, especially in an industry already plagued with abuse. But maybe the wildest contradiction? 6699 them. Nicki linked up with him after he got out of jail, after he snitched, after all the pedo allegations, and dropped trolls. And she defended it, said she's about loyalty, about giving people second chances. But when Megan's name came up, or Cardi's, all of a sudden Nicki was on her morality soapbox. It's not adding up. Nicki's talking about integrity, but she's standing next to men with serious baggage. She's calling out industry corruption, but she's been silent when the pressure's on her side. That double standard ain't sitting well with a lot of fans, and it's hurting her. The Barbs are still strong, no doubt, but the casual fans, the ones who used to respect her moves, they're starting to turn. Some are saying, this ain't the Nicki who dropped Monster. This ain't the Nicki who stood 10 toes down against Kim. This is someone who's spiraling, paranoid, defensive, fighting ghosts. Nicki Minaj got a history of falling out with people, but the way she moved against Megan Thee Stallion, that shift hit different. When Meg came into the game, Nicki embraced her. They did Hot Girl Summer, showed love online, and the Barbs welcomed her. But once Meg linked with Roc Nation and started leveling up, that love turned to smoke. And Nicki ain't even hide it. Her behavior flipped. She started sending subliminals about snakes, ungrateful women, and shady deals. Fans caught on quick. They pulled up old tweets, compared interviews, and noticed Nicki was pressed every time Megan got a win, especially after that Cardi B collab dropped. Now let's talk about that Roc Nation piece, because that's where the paranoia really started. Nicki's never trusted Jay-Z's camp. For years, she felt like they've been gatekeeping opportunities, blocking her from certain deals, and pushing other artists ahead of her. When Megan signed with Roc Nation, that was a trigger. It felt personal to Nicki. Like, oh, so y'all not rocking with me no more? Then came the Super Bowl drama. In 2024, when Kendrick Lamar was picked over Lil Wayne to headline the Super Bowl halftime show, Nicki took that as a direct shot at not just at Wayne, but at herself. Wayne was her mentor, her day one. And in Nicki's mind, Roc Nation had the power to put Wayne in that slot, but chose Kendrick instead. That's when she went off. She started using Queen Radio to vent, long, unfiltered rants. She questioned why the same names keep getting rewarded while real ones get overlooked. She hinted at being blackballed. She threw shade at people she once called family. And Jay-Z? She didn't say his name directly, but the message was clear. Behind the scenes, people said Nicki was moving paranoid, seeing betrayal in every corner, calling out people who liked Megan's posts, unfollowing celebs she used to be cool with. She even dropped bars about loyalty and backstabbing in records that had nothing to do with the drama, just to get the message off. But the wild part? Megan never said a word. While Nicki was spinning, Meg stayed quiet. She didn't clap back, didn't tweet, didn't throw subs. She stayed on her own path, dropped music, did brand deals, focused on her bag. That silence, it drove Nicki even crazier. Because for someone like Nicki, who controls every narrative, who built her brand on responding, the silence from Meg was worse than a diss. It made her look pressed, like she was fighting a war by herself. And then came the double standard talk. Fans started pointing out how Nicki would go hard on female rappers, but show mad grace to men with messy pasts. She stayed by her husband, collaborated with 6699, never called out Wayne or Drake when they had questionable bars or moments. But when Megan got shot and stood her ground, Nicki ain't show support. Instead, she was spotted liking posts from Tory Lanez fans, posting cryptic stuff about people playing victim. It was nasty. And then you mix in her growing obsession with Desiree Perez, the CEO of Roc Nation, someone Nicki clearly sees as a gatekeeper. Nicki went full tinfoil hat mode, calling out Perez's old court case, saying she's a rat, a snitch, and blaming her for how the industry treats Nicki now. Thing is, Perez did cooperate in a federal case years ago, but she also rebuilt her life, took over Roc Nation, and became one of the most powerful women in music. And Nicki, she couldn't handle that, especially knowing Perez was now moving Megan, Cardi, and other rivals into elite spaces Nicki once controlled. So now Nicki's whole energy is defensive. She's not just dropping music, she's weaponizing it, using Queen Radio as a soapbox, using her bars to take shots at folks who ain't even responding. Even her last few records been heavy on the subliminals and light on the substance. And that's the problem. Because Nicki used to move like a bishop. Now she's moving like a blogger with a mic. And the fans feel it. You got day one barbs who still ride, no question. But the general audience, they seeing the patterns. They noticing how every time another woman wins, Nicki gotta throw shade. How every time she gets quiet, it's cause she gearing up to drop a diss, not a hit. And all that queen energy she used to carry, it's starting to feel like insecurity dressed up in pink wigs. Now here's what makes it worse. Nicki knows the game's changing. New girls like Ice Spice, Doja, Glorilla, and Lotto are getting love from both fans and industry insiders. They got crossover appeal, brand deals, and hits that don't need beef to go viral. That's what eats at Nicki. Cause she built the lane they're driving in, but now she's stuck honking in the rear view. So what does she do? She leans heavier into conspiracy, more tweets about blackballing, more rants about Jay-Z, more shots at women she helped inspire. Instead of embracing her OG status, she's trying to fight for relevance she already earned. And that's what makes this moment so sad to watch. Nicki Minaj had the chance to be the anchor of this whole new generation. She could have been the one mentoring, collaborating, building legacies with these women. Instead, she chose war, chose paranoia, chose pride. And every time she hits that post button to go off on somebody, she chips away at the legacy she fought so hard to build.
We talk about rappers versus street. It's rappers that push guns. They ain't never bust a day in their life and their music all the mother time. So we're not talking about rappers. I feel streets have a right to feel how they want to feel because they in the field. And you know, I'm not on the block with 6ix9ine. Me and 6ix9ine is not on the block. We in the music business. So you rappers is in rooms all the time with people with sketchy pasts. And I'm not judging anybody because that's just, I'm not doing that. I have nothing but respect for so many of these people, and I would never fix my face to a crazy about that.
Let's talk about loyalty, because that's the one word Nicki Minaj loves throwing around. But lately, her definition of it has been looking real selective. When it comes to standing by women in the industry, she's quick to call folks fake, switch sides, or play victim. But when it's men with criminal baggage, abuse accusations, or straight up predator energy, suddenly she got grace, sympathy, and second chances to hand out like candy. Take 6ix9ine, for example. After the dude got out of prison, fresh off snitching on his own crew, facing accusations about minors, and losing all credibility in the streets, who was one of the first big names to link up with him? Nicki. She jumped on trolls, smiled in the video, posted him up like he was family, defended it too. She said stuff like, "Y'all pick and choose who y'all cancel, and real ones don't let the media decide loyalty." But fans weren't buying it. They saw through the PR spin. They remembered Nicki once stood for female empowerment, for setting boundaries, for protecting women in the game. But here she was, doing records with a dude known for trolling underage girls, disrespecting legends, and putting people behind bars. And that wasn't even the worst part. Around the same time, Nicki's own husband, Kenneth Petty, was back in headlines. He's a registered sex offender with a case that dates back to the early 90s. Nicki's response? Denial. She went on Queen Radio, said the victim was lying, claimed it was a setup, and painted Kenneth as someone trying to move on with his life. But then the alleged victim came forward. Not through gossip blogs, but on camera, with receipts. She said Nicki's team tried to pay her off, tried to pressure her into recanting her statement, even said people close to Nicki tried threatening her family. It turned into a legal case, federal. And Nicki? She kept silent for a while, then acted like she was the one being attacked. That's been her pattern. When she faces backlash for questionable men in her circle, she doesn't take accountability. She doubles down, spins the narrative, plays victim, or worse, distracts the audience with new beef. And the barbs, they defend her no matter what. But outside that bubble, people are watching and they're not forgetting. Add in her brother's conviction, and it gets even harder to ignore the pattern. Her brother was convicted of child rape, not accused, convicted. And Nicki, she bailed him out, publicly stood by him. When fans asked why, she brushed it off as family business. But where's that energy when other people's family stories come to light? Where's that grace when other women are dealing with trauma? It's the hypocrisy that keeps stacking up. Nicki's been using her platform to tear down Megan, who went public after being shot. But she stood next to Tory Lanez fans, liked shady tweets, posted subs that lined up with anti-Meg narratives, all while talking about protecting Black women. Make it make sense. And now, every time she jumps online to talk about loyalty, fans bring up her past, her choices, her silence on issues that should have mattered. And what does she do? She claps back, blocks people, and blames Rock Nation. Like the entire industry's a setup meant to take her down. But here's the thing. The drama ain't always coming from the outside. It's internal. Her obsession with Jay-Z, Perez, Megan, and Cardi, that's not strategy. That's paranoia. That's someone who used to move with precision, now moving off emotion. It's hurting her brand, hurting her credibility, and making even her wins feel like forced moments instead of real ones. Like, take the rollout of her last album. It should have been a celebration, a victory lap, but instead it was surrounded by lawsuits, Twitter beefs, and messy headlines. She couldn't even drop the lead single without the conversation getting hijacked by her husband's probation drama or another Queen radio rant. And the worst part? The music ain't hitting like it used to. Nicki's pen is still sharp, no doubt, but the energy behind it, it feels defensive, like she's writing to prove she's still got it, not because she's inspired, and the audience can tell. That hunger she used to rap with, that confidence, now it feels like overcompensation. People are tuning in out of curiosity, not passion. They want to see what she says next, not because they love the music, but because the drama's louder than the beat. That's not where an icon should be. That's where reality TV stars live, not rap royalty. And that's what's sad, because Nicki earned her crown. She broke barriers, went head-to-head with giants, opened the door for a whole generation of women. But instead of lifting those women up, she sees them as threats. And instead of walking in her legacy, she's defending it like it's under attack every day. What made Nicki dangerous was her focus, her clarity, her ability to drown out the noise and let the bars talk. But now the noise is all we hear. And the bars? They sound like responses to headlines, not reflections from a legend. The irony? She still has the chance to flip it, to silence the critics, to rise above the mess. But to do that, she'd have to cut ties with the drama, with the distractions, and with the men who keep dragging her name through the dirt. Because at this point, it ain't about loyalty anymore. It's about accountability. Nicki Minaj ain't just a rapper. She's a blueprint. There's not a single woman in the current rap scene that didn't take at least one page out of her playbook. She brought charisma, style, bars, versatility, and she did it during an era where the industry didn't even want another female rapper on top. She forced her way in, took the game by the throat, and for years nobody could touch her. But somewhere along the way, that energy shifted. Now, instead of building, Nicki's been tearing down. Instead of leading, she's defending. And the thing that's got her spiraling the most? She's scared of being replaced. Scared that the game she once controlled is moving without her. And it is. See, in the beginning, Nicki was the only one. The industry barely had space for women. And she made sure she was the one they had to make space for. That made her fierce, but it also made her paranoid. And now that the door's open, and women like Cardi, Megan, Doja, Lotto, Ice Spice, and more are eating, Nicki ain't celebrating it. She's fighting it. And that's where her legacy starts to crack. Because legends evolve, they mentor, they guide, they shift into roles where they don't gotta compete, they just inspire. But Nicki, she still wants to be the main character every time, still wants to outshine the new class, still wants the crown to sit on her head even when the crowd's cheering for someone else. That's not queen behavior. That's fear. And fear makes you do wild things, like turn on people who once looked up to you, like drop diss bars when nobody's dissing you, like go on Twitter rants at midnight when you're supposed to be strategizing your next move. Fear makes you look like the opposite of who you used to be, and the fans see it now. They remember the Nicki who went toe-to-toe with Wayne and Drake on Roman's Revenge, who murdered Monster with one of the most iconic verses in rap history, who could switch flows mid-verse and still have punchlines for days. That Nicki was focused, hungry, and more than anything, fun to root for. But lately, she don't feel like the underdog anymore. She feels like the villain in her own story. And it's not because people hate her, it's because people expected more from her. They expected her to lift up Ice Spice, to not sneak diss her on IG. They expected her to embrace Megan's success, not gaslight her trauma. They expected her to walk with grace as the OG, not get into the mud with every new girl who trends for a month. And that's what's heartbreaking, because Nicki could still be that icon. Her pen's still sharp, her voice still unique, but her choices, they making her look smaller than she really is. Even her music rollout been feeling like afterthoughts. Instead of letting the work speak, she keeps wrapping every song in controversy. Every new project comes with beef. Every feature has a subliminal. Every rollout is overshadowed by a Queen radio explosion. And it's not just the fans getting tired, it's the industry too. A lot of people behind the scenes don't want to touch her brand anymore. Not because she ain't talented, but because she's unpredictable. Because her name comes with too much baggage. That's why you don't see her doing collabs with the newer class unless they bow down first. That's why she's not popping up at major award shows like she used to. That's why even some brands are staying away. The risk is too high. And the reward don't outweigh the noise. So where does she go from here? If Nicki wants to protect her legacy, she got to do the hardest thing for someone who built an empire on dominance. Let go. Let go of the need to control every narrative. Let go of the obsession with being the only one. Let go of the beefs that drain her energy and shift focus back to the music. Because here's the truth, Nicki's legend is already stamped. She don't gotta prove nothing. But the more she tries to, the more it looks like she's lost in the very game she helped build. What she needs now ain't another Twitter rant. It's a reinvention, not as the queen of drama, but as the matriarch of a generation she helped birth. Imagine Nicki putting her arm around the new girls, guiding the culture from a place of wisdom, dropping timeless records without the extra noise, shifting the sound again like she did in 2010. That's the Nicki the game still wants. Because at the end of the day, love her or hate her, Nicki Minaj changed hip-hop, and she still has time to change it again. But she gotta get out her own way, gotta stop swinging at shadows, gotta stop treating her peers like competition and start acting like a leader again. That's what a real queen does. She don't fight to keep the throne, she builds more. If you made it this far, hit that like, tap subscribe, and drop your take in the comments. Can Nicki bounce back? Or has her paranoia already rewritten her legacy? Let's talk about it.